Coach Drew.
For many of us around the world, Christmas is a time of great joy and a time to just have a break and unwind and eat good food and create great memories. Yet I'm aware that Christmas is a very difficult time for so many because you've lost someone that you love. I hope that this video will encourage you and give you some guidance. It's from an interview that I had with my friend Greg Mussleman on 100 Huntley Street, and it's all about coping through this time.
And joining me to talk about some helpful tips to deal with getting over grief during the Christmas season is Dr. Andrew Blackwood, a registered psychotherapist, life coach, and a good friend to 100 Huntley Street. Andrew, nice to see you back,
Good
brother.
to see you, Greg.
Now, let's talk about some practical things that we can do. Not everybody grieves the same way.
That's right.
And I think if I've gone through something and I've grieved it, maybe there's an expectation that's how somebody else should grieve.
Exactly. You know, not just how you grieve, but what you grieve. Christmas time, I have a memory when I was probably 6 or 7, my godmother gave me this gizmo doll, my partner in crime. He went everywhere with me. I mean, literally, I'd take his head off and put nickels in there. And one day, I lost him. And I couldn't find him. I searched and searched and searched. And it wasn't until years later when I sat and I thought back about that moment. The worst part was that nobody helped me look for him. And it was actually kind of devastating for me. And why would I share a story about a toy at Christmas? Well, it highlights the fact that grief is different for everyone. Someone might think that's not a big deal, you know, and that kind of reinforces the idea that, you know what, keep your grief to yourself, people aren't going to understand, but that's not true.
And we're not the best culture overall. I mean, some people, depending on what parts of the world and how they deal with grief, because it is different. But generally, Canadians are a little more not as open maybe to sharing grief.
Yeah, we don't know how to. I mean, like, we don't have rituals and we don't have practices outside of a funeral or things like that. But that also gives us the opportunity to acknowledge when people experience loss or when you experience a loss, finding ways to incorporate that. So some people grieve by pulling away to themselves, and that's not necessarily unhealthy. But some people, they grieve by sharing. They share the memories. They share the loss. They cry. They share the pain, right?
I think one of the most important things, and this is tip number 2, if you're keeping track at home here, is it's not, the question maybe is not to ask why it happened, because that's usually what happens when we think of, okay, why did this happen? But it's what can we do?
Right.
Tell me why that's so important.
The instinctual kind of why. Why is this happening to me? Why, God? Why did you take this or this person from me? And I've found that why doesn't really move us, whereas what does. What is it that you want me to do now? Where do I go from here? Who can I talk to about this? You know, what am I going to take away from this experience? Those kinds of questions create movement for people. Because
grief is differently experienced by everybody else, I think one of the key has to be, point number 3 here now, is to be patient with yourself, right? As you're going through the grief process. Just because somebody went through it, maybe it looked like quicker. Right. You have to be patient, right?
It really ties into the first point, because grief is going to be different for different people. Some people, this is year 2, this is year 3, this is year 4, this is year 5 of losing a loved one. And around this time, that pain gets opened up again. So it's important to be patient with yourself and to allow yourself to go through the process, as well as be patient with other people, because some people really don't know what to say. They might open their mouths and the worst things come out. It's important to know that not many people know how to deal with it well.
Oh, and in some cases, it would be to seek a professional like yourself, right?
It's definitely helpful to have either formal or informal support so that you can be heard, you can be listened to, you can learn the process of identifying what it is that you need at this point in this time.
Because if you get the wrong advice, that can be devastating.
It really can. Right.
Family support, how important is that?
I think it's very important. The reality that most of us live in the context of family, especially for people who have lost family or who actually have no family left. That could be terrible. So, you know, we have the family that we're born with, but we have the family that we choose. We try to find people that can support us and that can walk with us. And if you do have family that you're born with, it's important to remember who those family members are. Some of them are going to intuitively know what it is to say, and some of them are not going to. So once again, identifying what it is that you need and being brave enough to ask for that.
And we just have a few seconds, but we also have to remember that if somebody in the family has passed away, you're not the only one that's going through the grief.
That's right. You're not the only one who's lost someone, and that loss is going to most likely be different and felt differently for people, so they will express it differently. But sometimes we can come together and just talk about what that means, and then come up with a common way that we can commemorate this person and reintegrate their memory and the meaning. Some people, it's a particular dinner. For some people, they will leave that seat for that person. They will set that plate, or they'll have an ornament, or they will say a prayer, or they'll give a donation on behalf of that person.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I wish we had more time, but you gave us some great tips here. Always appreciate it.
I hope this video has given you some guidance, some direction about how to navigate this period of time. I know it will be difficult, but I pray that you will have people around you who will encourage you, who will lift you up, who will give you good company. Nothing like good company, especially during a time of grief and loss and sadness. I look forward to connecting with you again in the new year, and until then, continue to learn, heal,